Hello everybody and welcome back to Screen Stars and welcome to another of my PlayStation 4 reviews, and today's review is for Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. Now this is a game that is getting another remaster. I know we've had quite a few remasters this year, and this is an RPG that came out I believe originally in 2012. It is a game that I bought initially when it first came out on the PlayStation 3. Always been a fan of RPGs, as you know if you watch my reviews. And this one was well received when it was first released in 2012. And many believed it would probably go on to a successful franchise. However, as many of you may or you may not know, the developers behind this game basically kind of went bankrupt and collapsed. And the game, even though it is well liked and well respected, kind of faded into obscurity, I suppose. However, the rights have been bought and it has been remastered for a new generation on the PlayStation 4. And what is this RPG about? Well, essentially, you are a character that you can fully customize at the beginning of the game, who essentially is brought back to life in something called the Well of Souls. And you go on to save the day. I never really like to spoil a story in too much in games like these, in case you've never played them before. Needless to say, this is a huge game, a long and winding story, and certainly from what I remember from playing it in 2012, and I don't remember completing it in 2012, and I certainly haven't completed it yet on this remaster. But I do remember having a good time with the game. Certainly in 2012, not as much this time round, and I will explain my reasons behind that. So, the game then, right, this is supposed to be a remaster, but I'll be honest, I can't see where or what they have actually remastered here. I'm sure they've probably touched things up here and there, but I suspect there may well be some direct comparisons out there on YouTube right now. Comparing the 2012 version to this version, I can't see much of a change here, if I'm perfectly honest. It looks the same as I remember, it plays the same as I remember. There are a multitude of loading screens, which you would think if they were remastering they could have done something about that. The game doesn't flow because of it, because there's so many loading screens. Every time you enter a building there's a loading screen, every time you enter a new area there's a loading screen. I mean literally there's loading screens, every time you fast travel there's a loading screen. It slows the game down dramatically, and for what felt at the time in 2012 to be quite maybe a years ahead of its time, it feels dated now, this game actually. I personally think the visuals are fairly uninspired here and a little bit dull and bland. I don't remember being overly impressed with them at the time in 2012, even though I did enjoy this game at that time in 2012. But in 2020, I think it's a bit of a shame that they haven't done more with this remaster visually, if I'm perfectly honest. And old-fashioned isn't the only thing that this in regards to its visuals isn't the only thing that this game delivers here. It's old-fashioned in its questing as well, and its game design. Everything feels dated. The quests feel basically they're essentially the fetch quests, and they're doing favours for people. And the game, if you're going to play this game, my advice to you would be certainly don't get bogged down too early in the quests, because it throws quests at you, this game, left, right and centre, all over the place. You get these quests and many of them are just simple favours quests or fetch quests, and they don't feel like they've got any substance to them at all. And there's not many of the quests in the early stages of this game that are memorable. As the game progresses, the game improves in regards to its story and things like that. But for a first timer playing this game, the first 3, 4, 5 hours of this game, probably longer, are a bit of a chore. So that's a warning. However, there are other aspects of this game that are brilliant. The soundtrack still stands up. It feels like a movie soundtrack. It's really nicely done. The story is well written. There's loads of lore. It's huge. The game's huge. There's loads to do and seeing, characters to meet, and they're all voice acted. So there are other aspects of it that do stand up particularly well. It's got a great production value behind it, this game. Unfortunately as well, in regards to the visuals, like I said, it just looks a bit bland, and the interiors all look a bit bland, and the exteriors all kind of look the same, and they're oversaturated with colour and all that kind of stuff. And there's so much loot. You could see this as a positive or a negative. It's almost a looter shooter to some degree. There's loot everywhere, and you'll find yourself spending so much time in your inventory trying to determine if this piece of loot you've just picked up, this sword or this hammer or this longbow, is better than the one you had previously. You're constantly managing your inventory because you're running out of space, and you're constantly opening chests and picking up loot. And again, it just feels a little bit. It doesn't feel innovative at all in regards to that. And 90% of the stuff that you're picking up, you don't need or use really. You can join factions in the game, you can go around and join different factions and do different missions for those and all that kind of stuff. And you've got your typical RPG in regards to character progression. When you level up, you've got like a skill tree. Then you've got like an abilities tree that focuses on sorcery, might and finesse, and you can put points into all of these. But again, it works, and you can create your own kind of character. So you can be like a melee character, like a sword fighter, you can be a ranged character, or you can be like a sorcerer. So you can put your points wherever you want to be to determine what kind of character you want to be. But beyond that, there's not much in regards to specific identification for your character. Really, it feels a bit limited, if I'm honest. There's a fast travel system in the game that works reasonably well. Once you discover somewhere in the game, a landmark or something like that, you can easily travel to it by using the fast travel, and you're going to want to in this game because, like I say, it's a really quite a big game. And it feels, to me, it feels a little bit unfocused, this game, and when you compare it to modern day RPGs, it doesn't really stand up as well, I don't think, this game. I think if they'd have put a bit more polish on the game and tidied it up and made it look a bit better, play a bit smoother, and made the design of the interiors and exteriors a little bit more palatable, I think this game might have felt a little fresher and a little newer. As it happens, it just feels like a general port from the last one, which I think is a real shame, because there's a good game here. It just feels dated. So my suggestion to you would be, if you never played this game first time round, is this game worth playing? Well, for $34.99, no. I think it's massively overpriced. I think it's £10 overpriced, I think, this game. I think if it was £10 cheaper, $24.99, it would make it much more palatable. And I think RPG fans out there had never tried it the first time round would have a game here that's going to probably keep them really busy and entertained for a considerable amount of time. As it stands, what we get here is a game that doesn't feel like it's been remastered with a great deal of care. It's kind of, I think they thought this game was so loved by so many people that it was just going to sell whatever they did to it. And yes, it was a well respected RPG, this game, well respected, but not that well respected to just put out a fairly bland and substandard remaster of it. So it's still a good game. There's still a good game underneath all this, which is why I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10. But for a remaster on a PlayStation 4, Essentially, I'm not, and for the price that they're putting it out at, I don't necessarily think it's worth the money. If you really wanted a new RPG and you've never played this before, it's a maybe, but I would certainly probably wait till it drops into its first sale in a month or two. So that's my review for Kingdoms of Amalur Re-Reckoning. I hope you liked it and found it useful. Thank you very much for watching, everybody.